The sky above Kepler 442b burned red with fire and smoke. Explosions shook the ground every few seconds as the alien warships continued their relentless attack on the human mining colony. Corporal Taeyang pressed his back against the crumbling concrete wall and checked his rifle. Only half a magazine left. Around him, the bodies of his fellow soldiers lay scattered across the broken defensive line. "Status report!" he shouted into his communicator, but only static answered him. The command center had gone silent 20 minutes ago. He was probably the last one left in this sector. Taeyang was 28 years old and had been fighting the Velcrin for 3 years. The alien invasion had started suddenly, sweeping across the outer colonies with brutal efficiency. Humanity's Interstellar Defense Corps had tried to stop them. But the Velcrin were too strong, too advanced. Now they were here, at Kepler 442b, one of the last major human settlements before the core worlds. He risked a glance around the wall. 3 Velcrin soldiers were advancing toward his position. They looked almost insect-like, with 4 arms and armored exoskeletons that gleamed black in the firelight. Their weapons hummed with energy that could cut through steel like paper. Taeyang took a deep breath and opened fire. His bullets struck one of the aliens, but its armor absorbed most of the damage. The Velcrin returned fire, and he barely ducked back in time as energy bolts vaporized chunks of the wall above his head. His hands were shaking, not from fear, but from exhaustion. He had been fighting for 16 hours straight without rest, without food, without hope, but he refused to give up. That was what made humans different, he thought. They kept fighting even when logic said they should surrender. A massive explosion rocked the ground, and Taeyang saw it. A Velcrin war machine had broken through the last defensive barrier. The machine stood 3 stories tall, a walking fortress of weapons and armor. It was heading straight for the civilian evacuation tunnels where thousands of families were hiding. Something inside Taeyang's chest tightened. His sister had evacuated with her 2 children yesterday. They should be safely away by now, but other families were still down there, waiting for the last transport ships. If that war machine reached the tunnels, everyone would die. He looked down at his remaining ammunition. Then he looked at the explosive charges on his belt. 4 thermal grenades, designed to breach reinforced doors. They were not meant to destroy war machines, but maybe, if he could get close enough, if he could plant them at the right spot on the machine's leg joint, it was suicide. Taeyang knew that, but if he did nothing, innocent people would die. He had joined the military to protect humanity, to give people a chance at life. What good was his own life if he threw away that purpose now? For humanity, he whispered to himself. It was the core motto. Simple words, but they carried weight. Taeyang ran from cover, his legs pumping hard across the broken battlefield. The Velcrin soldiers spotted him immediately and opened fire. An energy bolt grazed his shoulder, burning through his armor and flesh. The pain was incredible, but he did not stop. Another bolt hit his leg, and he stumbled but kept running. The war machine's sensors detected him, and its massive guns began to rotate in his direction. Taeyang pushed himself harder, faster. 50 meters, 40, 30. The machine's guns locked onto him. He dove forward, sliding under the machine's legs just as it fired. The energy blast passed over him, so close he felt his hair singe from the heat. He reached up with shaking hands and stuck all 4 thermal grenades to the machine's leg joint. His fingers fumbled with the activation switch. Blood from his wounds made everything slippery. "Come on, come on!" he gasped. The grenades activated, beeping softly. 5 seconds until detonation. Taeyang tried to run, but his wounded leg gave out. He collapsed onto the ground, unable to move fast enough. The war machine's sensors detected the explosives, and it started to step away. But it was too late. The explosion was deafening. The thermal grenades superheated the metal of the leg joint, causing it to buckle and fail. The massive war machine toppled sideways, crashing down with the force of a falling building. Taiyang was caught in the shockwave, thrown through the air like a rag doll. He hit the ground hard, something inside him breaking with a wet crack. Pain exploded through his entire body. When he tried to breathe, blood filled his mouth. He could not feel his legs anymore. His left arm was bent at an impossible angle. Taiyang lay there, staring up at the red sky. He had done it. The war machine was destroyed. The civilians would have time to evacuate. His mission was complete. A strange peace settled over him. He had lived a short life. But at least it had meant something. His vision began to blur. The sounds of battle faded away, replaced by a ringing in his ears. This was it. This was death. Taiyang closed his eyes and waited for the darkness to take him. But then he heard footsteps. Soft, careful footsteps approaching through the smoke and debris. Someone was coming. He tried to call out, to warn them that the area was not safe, but he could not make his voice work. A shadow fell over him, blocking out the red sky. Taiyang forced his eyes open and saw a figure standing above him. It was not a Velcrin. It was humanoid, female, with pale skin and dark hair. But something about her was different, wrong in a way he could not quite define. Her eyes were too bright, reflecting light like a cat's eyes in darkness. "You fought well," the woman said softly. Her voice had a strange accent he did not recognize. "Such courage. Such determination. You truly do not wish to die, do you?" Taiyang tried to speak, but only blood came out. The woman knelt beside him, studying his ruined body with those strange, glowing eyes. "I am Nari," she said, "and I have been a prisoner here in this place for many months. The Velcrin captured me, studied me, hurt me. But now they are distracted by their victory, and I am free." She touched his face with cool fingers. "I can save you, but the price is high. You will never be fully human again. You will live forever, but you will be changed. Do you understand?" Taiyang did not understand. His mind was foggy with pain and blood loss. But some primal instinct inside him screamed to survive, to keep living, to keep fighting. He managed a small nod. Nari smiled, showing teeth that were just slightly too sharp. "Then so be it. Welcome to eternity, brave human." She bit her own wrist and dark blood welled up. Then she pressed it against Taiyang's lips. "Drink," she commanded. The blood touched his tongue, and fire exploded through his veins. Pain was all that existed. Not the sharp pain of his wounds, but something deeper, something that burned through every cell in his body. Taiyang felt like he was being unmade and remade at the same time. His bones shifted and cracked. His muscles tore and rebuilt themselves. His blood felt like molten metal flowing through his veins. He wanted to scream, but no sound would come out. Time lost all meaning. There was only the endless agony of transformation. Then, slowly, the pain began to fade. Taiyang became aware of his surroundings again. He was lying on a cold metal floor in a dark room. But he could see perfectly, even though there was no light. Every detail of the abandoned medical facility around him was crystal clear, from the cracks in the walls to the dust particles floating in the air. He sat up slowly, expecting pain from his wounds. But there was no pain. He looked down at his body and saw that his uniform was soaked with dried blood, but beneath the torn fabric, his skin was whole. The burns were gone. The broken bones had healed. Even the old scars from previous battles had disappeared. "What happened to me?" Taiyang whispered. His voice sounded different, somehow sharper and clearer. "You survived," Nari said from the shadows. She stepped into view, and Taiyang realized he could hear her heartbeat. It was slow, much slower than a human heart should beat. "Most do not. Your species is fragile. The transformation kills 99 out of every 100 who attempt it." Taiyang stood up. He felt strong, incredibly strong, like he could run forever without getting tired, like he could lift a car over his head. How long was I unconscious? 3 days, Nari replied. The Velkrin have moved on to attack the next colony. We are alone here now, in the ruins. 3 days. The war would have moved forward. His unit was probably listed as dead. Taeyang felt a sharp pang of loss for his fallen comrades, but underneath it was something else. A strange hunger that made his stomach twist. I feel strange, he said, like I am starving, but not for food. Nari nodded. That is the hunger. All of my kind feel it. We are Velith, though most of the galaxy calls us blood drinkers or vampires. We require blood to sustain our enhanced bodies. Not much, and not often, but the hunger never truly goes away. Blood. The word should have horrified him, but instead, Taeyang found himself thinking about it, craving it. He could smell it now, faint traces in the air from old bloodstains on the floor. The scent made his mouth water. I am a monster, he said quietly. No, Nari said firmly. You are something new. The first successful human Velith hybrid in all of history. My people have tried this before with other species, but it never worked. Your human adaptability, your stubborn refusal to die, it made the transformation possible. She walked closer to him. In the darkness, her pale skin seemed to glow faintly. The Velith were once a great warrior species. We were strong, fast, and nearly immortal. But then a plague came, a bioweapon created by other aliens who feared our power. It killed billions of us. Now only a few thousand Velith remain, scattered across the galaxy, hiding from those who would hunt us. Taeyang listened, trying to process everything. Why did you save me? Because I saw something in you, Nari said. In that moment when you were dying, you were not thinking of yourself. You were thinking of the people you saved. That kind of selflessness is rare. I thought, if anyone could handle this gift without becoming a monster, it would be someone like you. Gift. Was that what this was? Taeyang looked at his hands. They looked normal, but he could feel the power in them. He walked to the wall and pressed his palm against it, then pushed gently. The concrete cracked under his hand like it was made of dry clay. I could hurt people by accident, he said, pulling his hand back. Yes, Nari agreed. That is why I will teach you control. The Velith spend decades learning to manage their strength, their speed, their senses. You do not have decades, so we will work quickly. Over the next few hours, Nari taught him the basics. She showed him how to move carefully, how to gauge his new strength. She taught him to filter the overwhelming input from his enhanced senses, to focus on what mattered and ignore the rest. The hunger grew worse as time passed. Taeyang felt it gnawing at him, making it hard to concentrate. Finally, Nari cut her palm with a knife and offered it to him. Drink, she said. Small amounts from a willing donor will sustain you for weeks. You do not need to kill. You do not need to hunt. This is not a curse that forces you to harm others. Taeyang hesitated. The idea repulsed his human side, but the Velith part of him desperately wanted it. Finally, he took her hand and drank. The blood was cool and sweet, and the moment it touched his tongue, the horrible hunger subsided. Relief washed over him. He pulled away quickly, and Nari's wound was already healing, closing up before his eyes. Thank you, he said quietly. You must understand something, Nari said seriously. The galaxy fears the Velith. If others learn what you are, they will hunt you. Some will want to study you, to cut you apart and discover the secret of our immortality. Others will simply want you dead because they fear what you represent. You must keep this secret. Taeyang nodded slowly. What about you? You are free now. What will you do? I will stay hidden, Nari said. I will try to find others of my kind and warn them about the experiments that were being done here. But I will also watch over you from a distance. You are precious, Taeyang. You are proof that the Velith legacy does not have to die out. I want to go back, Taeyang said suddenly. To my unit, to the military. The war is not over. Humanity still needs defenders. Nari studied him for a long moment. That is dangerous. You will have to hide what you are. Use only a fraction of your abilities. If you reveal too much, questions will be asked. I know, Taeyang said. But I did not become a soldier just to abandon my duty. These powers, this immortality, they mean nothing if I do not use them to protect people. A small smile crossed Nari's face. I chose well. Very well. I will help you prepare. You will need a story to explain your survival. We will need to make you look injured enough to be believable, but not so injured that they will examine you too closely. They spent the rest of the day preparing. Nari taught him how to slow his heartbeat to seem more human, how to fake being tired and weak. She gave him a medical injector filled with his own stored blood that he could use if the hunger became too strong. When night fell, they made their way through the ruined colony. Bodies still lay where they had fallen, both human and Velcrin. Taeyang felt sadness for his fallen comrades, but also a grim determination. Their deaths would not be meaningless. He would continue the fight in their memory. At the edge of the ruins, Nari stopped. This is where we part ways. Be careful, Taeyang. Remember, you are playing a long game now. You have eternity ahead of you. Do not throw it away in a moment of carelessness. Will I see you again? He asked. Perhaps, she said. If you need me, I will find you. I can sense you now, feel your presence. We are connected through blood. Then she was gone, disappearing into the darkness faster than his eyes could follow. Taeyang stood alone in the ruins, feeling the weight of his new existence. He was no longer just human, but he was not ready to give up his humanity either. Somehow he would find a way to be both. He began walking toward the emergency beacon point where survivors would gather. His war was far from over. In fact, it was just beginning. The military medical examiner looked at Taeyang with suspicious eyes. You claim you survived by hiding in a collapsed bunker for 3 days with multiple critical injuries, including severe burns and internal bleeding. Yet here you are, walking and talking like nothing happened. Taeyang kept his expression neutral. He had practiced this story with Nari dozens of times. The medical supplies in the bunker included advanced healing foam. I used 3 full canisters on myself. It saved my life, but I still needed time to recover enough to dig myself out. The examiner checked his tablet, comparing Taeyang's current condition to his medical records. Your file says you had a scar on your left shoulder from a training accident. It is gone now. The healing foam repairs skin damage completely, Taeyang said calmly, even as his heart rate increased. He forced himself to breathe normally, to keep his enhanced strength hidden. It is expensive technology, but effective. After what felt like an eternity, the examiner sighed. Fine. You are cleared for duty. Report to Commander Jiwon in Bay 7. He is assembling a new special operations unit, and apparently you have been requested specifically. Taeyang felt surprised. He did not know any Commander Jiwon. Why would he request me? You will have to ask him yourself, the examiner said, already turning away to the next soldier in line. Bay 7 was in the military wing of the space station, where survivors from Kepler 442b had been evacuated. Taeyang walked through the corridors, his enhanced hearing picking up conversations from rooms he passed. He heard soldiers talking about the war, about losses, about fear. Every word was crystal clear, even through metal walls. He found Bay 7 and knocked on the door. A gruff voice called, "Enter!" Commander Jiwon sat behind a desk covered with tactical displays and mission reports. He was in his late 40s, with gray hair and hard eyes that had seen too much death. 3 other people stood in the room. A woman with a rifle slung over her shoulder, a young man with explosives expert patches on his uniform, and another woman wearing a pilot's jacket. "Corporal Tai Yang," Jiwon said, studying him carefully. "I read your report. Very impressive survival skills." "Thank you, sir." "Too impressive," Jiwon said quietly. The room went still. "I lost 30 good soldiers on Kepler 442b. Only 5 survived, and you were not among the initial evacuation. Yet here you are, barely a scratch on you." Taeyang felt his muscles tense. Was he already exposed? "Sir, I explained my survival in the medical report." "You did," Jiwon agreed. "And maybe it is all true. Or maybe something else happened down there. But right now I do not care about maybes. What I care about is that you single-handedly destroyed a war machine and saved 3,000 civilian lives. That takes courage and skill that I need on my team." The woman with the rifle stepped forward. "I am Hana, sniper specialist. If the commander trusts you, I will give you a chance." Her voice was neutral, but her eyes studied him like he was a puzzle to solve. The young man grinned. "Doyeon, explosives expert. Any man who destroys a war machine with thermal grenades is either crazy or brilliant. Either way sounds fun." The pilot nodded coolly. "Yuna, I fly, you fight. Simple arrangement." Jiwon stood up. "We are a special operations unit tasked with high-risk missions behind enemy lines. Sabotage, intelligence gathering, rescue operations. The kind of work where most teams do not come back. You in?" "Yes, sir," Taeyang said without hesitation. This was exactly what he needed. Dangerous missions where exceptional performance would be expected, where he could use his abilities without raising too many questions. "Good," Jiwon said. "We ship out in 6 hours. First mission is a rescue operation. The Velkrin captured a group of scientists from Research Station Delta. Intelligence suggests they are still alive, being held on a captured space station in the outer reach." Over the next 6 hours, Taeyang learned more about his new team. Hana was quiet and efficient, a perfect shot who never missed. Doyoon was cheerful despite the grim nature of their work, always joking to keep morale up. Yuna was serious and professional, treating her ship like a sacred temple. The mission briefing revealed that the captured scientists had been working on advanced weapons research. If the Velkrin extracted that information, it could shift the balance of the war even further in their favor. Yuna's ship was a stealth infiltrator, designed to slip past enemy sensors. As they approached the captured station, Taeyang felt his enhanced senses picking up details the others could not see. He could hear the faint vibrations of the station's power systems, smell the recycled air leaking from damaged hull sections. "4 guards at the main airlock," Hana whispered, peering through her scope. "2 more on the upper platform." Taeyang could see them clearly in the darkness, even though they were hundreds of meters away. He could hear their alien conversation, though he did not understand their language. But he said nothing, pretending to rely on the same equipment as everyone else. They docked at a maintenance port and cut through. The interior of the station was dark and cold. The Velkrin had not bothered to restore life support in sections they were not using. Taeyang moved carefully, making sure to keep pace with the others, never moving faster than a normal human could. They found the scientists locked in a cargo bay. All 8 of them were alive, but terrified. As Doyeon worked on the electronic lock, alarms suddenly blared throughout the station. "We have been detected," Yuna said calmly into her communicator. "I am bringing the ship around to the emergency port. You have 5 minutes. "Lock is not cooperating," Doyeon muttered, his hands flying over the keypad. "Need 3 more minutes." "We do not have 3 minutes," Hana said, taking position at the corridor entrance. Through Taeyang's enhanced hearing, he could detect at least 20 Velkrin soldiers rushing toward their position. The first aliens appeared at the far end of the corridor. Hana fired, her shots precise and deadly, but there were too many. Energy bolts filled the hallway, forcing them to take cover. One bolt struck Doyen in the shoulder, spinning him away from the lock with a cry of pain. "I am hit!" Doyen gasped, clutching his shoulder. The wound was bad, bleeding heavily. He would not be able to finish opening the lock. Tai Yang saw Ji-Wan's face tighten with the terrible calculation every commander had to make. Save the team or complete the mission. 8 scientists or 4 soldiers. "Fall back," Ji-Wan ordered. "We cannot get them out. Yuna, get ready for emergency extraction." "No," Taeyang said. He moved to the lock, his fingers flying over the controls much faster than Doyen had. His enhanced mind processed the security encryption in seconds. "Cover me, I can get this." "How?" Ji-Wan demanded, but Taeyang was already working. More Velcrin appeared in the corridor, 30 now, maybe 40. Hana's rifle clicked empty. They were out of time. The lock clicked open. "Got it!" Taeyang shouted. He grabbed the door and pulled. It was designed to require 2 people to open, but he ripped it open with one hand, the metal screaming in protest. Ji-Wan stared at him for half a second, then snapped into action. "Everyone out! Now!" The scientists ran past them. Yuna's voice crackled over the communicator. "Emergency port!" 30 seconds. Hana pulled Doyen to his feet, supporting him as they ran. Ji-Wan herded the scientists forward. Taeyang stayed at the rear, and when the Velcrin rushed forward, he acted on pure instinct. He moved faster than human eyes could properly follow, grabbing a fallen piece of metal beam and swinging it like a club. 3 Velcrin went down. He spun, kicked another into the wall hard enough to crack its armor. More energy bolts came at him, and he dodged, his enhanced reflexes making the world seem slow around him. "Taeyang, move!" Ji-Wan shouted from the airlock. Taeyang dropped the beam and ran, catching up to the others in seconds. They piled into Yuna's ship, and she launched before the airlock had even fully closed. Energy blasts struck the hull as they pulled away, but the armor held. In the cargo hold, everyone was breathing hard. The scientists huddled together, shocked but alive. Doyen groaned as Hana applied medical foam to his shoulder, and Ji-Wan stared at Taeyang with those hard, knowing eyes. "We need to talk," the commander said quietly. "Privately." The private meeting room was small and soundproof. Taeyang stood at attention while Commander Ji-Wan paced back and forth, his face unreadable. Finally, he stopped and spoke. "I have been a soldier for 27 years, Ji-Wan said quietly. "I have seen enhanced soldiers, cybernetic modifications, combat drugs that make men faster and stronger. But what you did back there, that was something different." Taeyang said nothing. What could he say? Any lie would be obvious. "You moved like lightning," Ji-Wan continued. "You opened a door that requires hydraulic assistance. You fought off a dozen Velcrin soldiers without breaking a sweat, so I will ask you directly, what are you?" For a long moment, Taeyang considered his options. He could lie, but Ji-Wan was not stupid. He could refuse to answer, but that would only make things worse. Or he could trust this man who had trusted him enough to bring him on this mission. "I am still human," Taeyang said finally. "But I am also something else, something that happened to me on Kepler 442b during the attack. I was dying, and someone saved me, changed me, made me stronger, faster, harder to kill." "Who?" Ji-Wan demanded. "A woman named Nari. She is Velith, one of the blood drinkers. The Velcrin had captured her, were experimenting on her. When the battle started, she escaped, and she found me bleeding out. She offered me a choice, die human, or live as something more." Ji-Wan's hand moved to his sidearm, but he did not draw it. "The Velith are dangerous. They are nearly immortal predators." "I know what people say about them," Taeyang replied. "But Nari is not a monster, and neither am I. I still serve humanity. I still protect people. The only difference is now I can do it better." "Can you die?" Ji-Wan asked. I do not know, Taeyang admitted. Probably not from aging, but I can be injured. I can feel pain. I am not invincible. Ji-won sat down heavily, rubbing his face with both hands. This is beyond my clearance level. I should report this to intelligence. Have you taken in for study? But you will not, Taeyang said, reading the man's body language. No, Ji-won agreed. Because I need soldiers who can win, and right now humanity is losing. If you want to fight, if you want to help, I will not stop you. But you need to be more careful. Hana already suspects something. Doyun thinks you are just exceptionally lucky. Yuna has not said anything, but she notices everything. I will be more careful, Taeyang promised. Ji-won stood up. Good. Now get some rest. We have another mission in 2 days. But the next mission never happened. Instead, they were called to an emergency briefing along with 6 other special operations teams. A high-ranking intelligence officer named Director Somin stood at the front of the room, her expression grim. We have intercepted Velcrin communications, she said, bringing up a holographic display. They are planning a major offensive against the colony world of New Haven. 3 million civilians live there. If it falls, we lose our primary agricultural production for the entire sector. She paused, and her next words sent shock through the room. But that is not why I called you here. While decrypting their communications, we discovered something else. The Velcrin have detailed information about our defensive positions, troop movements, and supply routes. Information they should not have. A spy? Someone asked. Spies, Director Somin corrected. Multiple sources inside our own government and military. Someone has been selling us out to the Velcrin. The room erupted in angry voices. Ji-won's face went pale. Taeyang felt cold inside. If high-ranking humans were working with the enemy, then the war was even worse than he thought. Director Somin raised her hand for silence. We are still identifying the conspirators, but we believe their goal is not just money or power. They are trying to negotiate a separate peace with the Velcrin, sacrificing the outer colonies in exchange for protection of the core worlds. That is treason, Hana said coldly. Yes, the director agreed, and it goes deeper. One of the intercepted communications mentioned a research facility, a black site where illegal experiments are being conducted on captured aliens, including Velith specimens. The Velcrin have been sending the conspirators captured Velith in exchange for information. Taeyang felt his blood run cold. Nari had been held on Kepler 442b, experimented on. Were there others like her suffering in human facilities right now? After the briefing, Ji-won pulled Taeyang aside. His face looked years older than it had that morning. I need to tell you something. Something I have never told anyone else. They went to Ji-won's quarters. Inside, the commander opened a locked drawer and pulled out a photograph. It showed a young woman, maybe 20 years old, with kind eyes and a bright smile. This is my daughter Minji, Ji-won said quietly. 4 years ago, the Velcrin attacked the colony where she was studying. I was told she died in the initial bombardment along with her mother and younger brother. I mourned them. I buried empty coffins. He set the photo down with shaking hands. But 6 months ago, I received an anonymous message. A single video file. It showed Minji alive, locked in a cell. She looked older, thinner, scared. The message said she was in a human facility, a research station where they study alien biology. Taeyang felt understanding dawn. You think she is in one of these black sites? I know she is, Ji-won said. I have been investigating quietly, carefully, using every contact I have. The conspirators faked her death. They have been keeping her alive, using her as leverage in case I got too close to discovering their operation. They think I do not know she survived. Why tell me this? Taeyang asked. Because you are the first person I have met who might actually be able to get her out, Ji-won said. These facilities are heavily guarded, designed to hold dangerous alien specimens. Normal soldiers cannot infiltrate them. But you? With your abilities? You want me to help you rescue your daughter? I want us to help each other, Ji-Won corrected. You said your friend Nari was held and experimented on. There might be others like her in these facilities. If we can locate the black site, we could rescue them all. My daughter, your friend's people, and gather evidence of the conspiracy at the same time. Taeyang thought about Nari's words. The Velith were nearly extinct, scattered and hiding. How many were suffering in secret prisons right now? And how many human families like Ji-Won's had been lied to, their loved ones used as pawns in a corrupt game? I am in, Taeyang said. But we cannot do this alone. We need the team. They will think we have gone insane, Ji-Won warned. Then we better be convincing. They called Hana, Doyun, and Yuna to a secure location and told them everything. About the conspiracy, about Minji, about Taeyang's true nature. Doyun listened with wide eyes. Yuna's expression never changed. Hana stared at Taeyang like she was seeing him for the first time. So you are basically a vampire, Doyun said finally. That is actually pretty cool. It is dangerous, Hana countered, but it explains a lot. The question is, do we trust him? He saved our lives, Yuna said simply. That counts for something. And the commander's daughter? Hana asked. How do we find this facility? I have a contact, Ji-Won said. Someone in intelligence who owes me. She can get us the location, but after that we are on our own. If we get caught, it will be considered treason. Good thing we will not get caught then, Doyun said with a grin, though Taeyang could hear the nervousness in his heartbeat. That night, while the others planned their approach, Taeyang stood alone on the observation deck, staring out at the stars. He felt a familiar presence approach from behind. You came, he said, without turning around. Nari stepped beside him, her reflection ghostly in the window. I told you I would always find you. I felt your distress through our connection. They are holding your people in a research facility, Taeyang said. We are going to get them out. That is dangerous. These conspirators will not let you simply walk away with their secrets. I know, Taeyang said, but it is the right thing to do. Nari smiled. You really are too noble for your own good. Very well. I will help you. I can sense other Velith, feel their presence. If we get close to the facility, I can guide you to where they are being held. Thank you. Do not thank me yet, Nari said softly. What we are about to do will change everything. Are you ready for that? Taeyang thought about Ji-Won's daughter, about the Velith suffering in captivity, about humanity's future being sold to the enemy by traitors. He thought about his promise to keep fighting, to protect people. I am ready, he said. The black site facility was hidden on a small moon in neutral space, far from any major trade routes. It looked like a mining operation from the outside, but Ji-Won's intelligence contact had confirmed this was where the conspirators conducted their illegal experiments. The facility was designated as Research Station Kappa, but no official records mentioned its true purpose. Yuna flew their ship through an asteroid field, using the rocks for cover as they approached. Security is tight, she reported. Automated defense platforms, patrol ships, sensor grids. This place is built to keep things in and people out. Can you get us close? Ji-Won asked. I can get you to the surface, Yuna said, but extraction will be difficult if they activate a full lockdown. Nari stood behind Taeyang's seat, invisible to the others. She had come aboard while they were docked, using her speed to avoid being seen. Only Taeyang knew she was there. I can feel them, she whispered in his ear. 3 Velith, still alive. They are in the lower levels, in great pain. Taeyang clenched his fists. Soon, he thought. Hold on just a little longer. They landed at a maintenance port that Ji-won's contact had marked as having a blind spot in the sensor coverage. The team moved quickly, dressed in stolen maintenance uniforms. Hana had her rifle hidden in a equipment case. Doyun carried his explosives disguised as repair tools. They looked like ordinary workers, nothing special. The facility was enormous inside, multiple levels carved deep into the moon's rock. Workers moved through the corridors, none of them looking twice at the maintenance crew. Taiyang's enhanced hearing picked up conversations from nearby rooms. Most were mundane, but some made his blood run cold. Subject 7 expired during the procedure. Dispose of the body and prep Subject 8. The client wants results faster. Increase the serum dosage. Security reports possible intrusion in Sector 9. Send a team to investigate. They had been detected, though not yet identified. Taiyang signaled Ji-won, who nodded and picked up the pace. They needed to find Minji and the Velith before the facility went into full alert. Nari guided him through mental impressions, a pull in a certain direction that grew stronger as they descended. They reached the research level and found it heavily guarded. Armed soldiers stood at every checkpoint, all wearing uniforms that did not match any official military branch. "Private security," Hana whispered. "The conspirators do not trust regular military personnel here." Ji-won showed fake credentials to the first checkpoint, papers his contact had provided. The guard scanned them and frowned. "These are not in the system." "New clearance protocols," Ji-won said smoothly. "Started yesterday. You should have received the update." "I did not receive any update," the guard said, reaching for his communicator. Taiyang moved. He crossed the distance in a blur, his hand striking the guard's throat in a precise blow that knocked him unconscious without killing him. The second guard barely had time to shout before Hana's rifle dropped him with a tranquilizer dart. "So much for stealth," Doyun said, already moving to set charges on the security door. Alarms began to blare throughout the facility. Red lights flashed in the corridors. Over the intercom, a cold voice announced, "Intruder alert. All security personnel to research level. Lethal force authorized." "We need to split up," Ji-won said quickly. "Taiyang, you are fastest. Get the Velith. Hana, Doyun, you are with me. We find my daughter. Yuna, get back to the ship and prepare for emergency extraction." "On it," Yuna said, already running. The security door exploded open. Taiyang ran through while the others provided covering fire. He moved through the corridors faster than human eyes could track, following Nari's guidance. Behind him, he heard gunfire and shouting, but he could not stop. Every second counted. He found the holding cells in the deepest part of the facility, 3 reinforced chambers, each containing a Velith prisoner. They looked terrible, thin and weak, their pale skin covered in injection marks and surgical scars. 2 were unconscious. The third, a male, looked up as Taiyang approached. "Human," the Velith whispered in a cracked voice. "Come to watch? Come to hurt us more?" "I came to get you out," Taiyang said, grabbing the cell door. The lock was electronic and biometric, designed to be impossible to force open. He did not care. He pulled, using his full strength for the first time since his transformation. The metal screamed and bent. The lock shattered. The door tore free from its hinges. The Velith stared at him in shock. "You smell like us. But you are human. How?" "Long story," Taeyang said, moving to the next cell. "Can you walk?" "Barely. My siblings cannot. They have been given too much sedative." Taeyang ripped open the other 2 cells and carefully lifted the unconscious Velith. They were surprisingly light, their bodies wasted from captivity. The conscious one stumbled after him, using the wall for support. "Thank you," the Velith said. "I am called Kiran. We thought we would die here." "Not today," Taeyang promised. They made their way back through the corridors. Security forces were everywhere now, but Taiyang simply outran them, moving too fast for their weapons to track. Kieran struggled to keep up, but determination kept him moving. Taiyang found Jiwon's team pinned down by heavy fire near another cell block. He set the unconscious Velith down carefully and said to Kieran, "Stay here. Keep them safe." Then he charged into the firefight. The security forces saw a blur, nothing more. Taiyang disarmed them, moving between them like a ghost. He did not kill anyone if he could help it, but he showed no mercy in his efficiency. Within seconds, 15 guards lay unconscious on the floor. Hana stared at him, her rifle still raised. "You could have done that the whole time?" "Yes," Taeyang admitted. "But I was trying not to reveal everything." "Well, secret is out now," Doyun said, working on the cell lock. It clicked open, and a young woman stumbled out. She looked just like her photograph, though years older and marked by hardship. "Dad?" Minji whispered, staring at Jiwon like she could not believe he was real. "I am here," Jiwon said, embracing her tightly. "I am getting you out." "There are others," Minji said urgently. "Prisoners from different species. The scientists here, they are trying to create super soldiers using alien biology. Most subjects die, but they do not care. We have to save them." "We cannot save everyone," Jiwon said gently. "We barely have time to save ourselves." A cold voice echoed from speakers in the corridor. "How touching. A family reunion in my facility." Everyone looked up. Screens on the walls activated, showing a man in a white lab coat. He was middle-aged, with sharp features and eyes that held no warmth. "I am Dr. Hyun, director of this research station. You have caused significant damage to my work, and I am afraid I cannot allow you to leave." "You experimented on innocent people," Hana said coldly. "You are a monster." "I am a scientist," Dr. Hyun corrected, "and what I do here will ensure humanity's survival. The Velith possess the secret to immortality. Once I unlock it, humanity will become unstoppable. We will never age, never truly die. Is that not worth a few sacrifices?" "Those sacrifices are people," Taeyang said. "They have lives, families, futures you stole." "Says the hybrid," Dr. Hyun replied, smiling. "Yes, I know what you are. I have been monitoring you since your miraculous survival on Kepler 442b. You are proof that my theories work. A human Velith hybrid with all the benefits and none of the drawbacks. Imagine an entire army of soldiers like you." "I will never help you create that," Taeyang said. "You will not have a choice," Dr. Hyun said. "I am activating Security Protocol Omega. The facility will be flooded with knockout gas in 30 seconds. When you wake up, you will be my next research subject. And do not try to run. I have already sealed all exits." The screens went dark. Vents in the ceiling hissed open, and green gas began pouring into the corridor. "Move!" Jiwon shouted. They ran, but the gas was everywhere. Minji collapsed first, then Doyun. Hana made it another few meters before her legs gave out. Even Jiwon, trained to resist chemical attacks, fell to his knees. Taeyang felt the gas affecting him too, but his Velith biology fought it off. He would not fall as quickly. He grabbed Jiwon and Minji, slinging them over his shoulders, then went back for the others. Kieran appeared from around the corner, supporting his siblings. "The gas does not affect us as much. Our metabolism is different." Together, they carried the unconscious humans through the corridors, searching for any way out. The exits were sealed, just as Dr. Hyun had said. They were trapped. Then Nari appeared, moving like a shadow through the gas. "This way. There is a ventilation shaft that leads to the surface. It is too small for most, but you can make it bigger." They found the shaft. Taeyang tore the grating away and then began ripping through the narrow tunnel, his hands shredding metal like paper. It was exhausting work even for him, but he did not stop. Behind them, he could hear security forces approaching, gas masks protecting them from the knockout agent. Finally, they broke through to the surface. The cold air of the moon hit them, and Taeyang activated the emergency beacon. "Yuna, we need extraction now." "I see you," Yuna's voice crackled. "Incoming, 30 seconds." Those 30 seconds felt like an eternity. Security forces poured out of the facility. Energy weapons fired at them, kicking up dust and rock. Taeyang stood in front of the others, using his body as a shield. Bolts struck him, burning through his clothes and skin, but he did not fall. Yuna's ship appeared, weapons blazing. The security forces scattered. The boarding ramp dropped, and they scrambled aboard. Taeyang was last, carrying the still unconscious Doyun. As they lifted off, explosions rocked the facility. "Doyun set charges before he passed out," Hana said weakly, coming around. "Always prepared." But their escape was not clean. Dr. Hyun's voice came over the ship's communicator. "This changes nothing. I have already transmitted all my research to my colleagues. The data on the hybrid, the Valith physiology. Everything. You may have escaped, but the knowledge survives. Others will continue my work." The transmission ended. Jiwan held his daughter close, while the Valith huddled together in exhaustion. They had won, but at what cost? The conspiracy now knew exactly what Taeyang was, and they would never stop hunting him. The safe house was on a remote asteroid station in the frontier territories, far from any major military presence. It was cramped and cold, but it was hidden. For now, that was all that mattered. Minji sat with her father, speaking quietly about her years in captivity. The three rescued Velith stayed in their own corner, slowly regaining their strength. Kieran watched Taeyang with curious eyes, studying him like a fascinating puzzle. Hana cleaned her rifle methodically, but her eyes kept drifting to Taeyang. Doyun made jokes to ease the tension, though they fell flat. Yuna checked and rechecked her ship's systems, preparing for a quick departure if needed. "We cannot stay here long," Jiwan said during their briefing. "Dr. Hyun transmitted our identities along with his research. By now, every intelligence agency, every bounty hunter, every military faction knows about us." "What do they know exactly?" Taeyang asked. Nari, who had been silent until now, answered. "They know you are a human Velith hybrid. They know you possess enhanced strength, speed, and healing. They know you are effectively immortal. Some will want to capture you for study. Others will want to weaponize you. Still others will want you dead, because you represent something they fear. We are all marked now," Hana said. "Deserters, traitors, fugitives. Just for doing the right thing." "The right thing is often the hardest thing," Jiwan replied. "But we knew the risks." Over the next few days, they monitored the communications channels. The news was worse than they had feared. The military had issued warrants for their arrest. Bounty hunters were already searching for them, attracted by the enormous reward offered for Taeyang's capture. Even some alien mercenaries had joined the hunt. But there was other news, too. The Velkrin invasion was intensifying. 3 more colonies had fallen in the past week. Humanity was losing ground rapidly. The conspiracy's deal with the Velkrin was clearly moving forward. "We need to expose them," Minji said during one evening meal. Despite her trauma, she had a sharp mind and had recovered some of her strength. If the public knew that their own government was selling them out, there would be an uprising. "We have no proof," Jiwan said. "Dr. Hyun destroyed the facility before we could gather evidence. It is our word against theirs, and we are already wanted criminals." "Then we find proof," Taeyang said. "We cannot hide forever. We need to go on the offensive." Kieran spoke up, his voice stronger than it had been. "I know something that might help. During my captivity, I overheard the scientists talking. They mentioned a data center, a place where all the conspiracy's records are stored. Financial transactions, communications with the Velkren, everything. If we could access it? Where? Hana asked immediately. I do not know the exact location, Kieran admitted, but I know it is somewhere in the core systems, heavily protected. Nari closed her eyes, thinking. I may be able to help. Before the plague, the Velith had extensive intelligence networks across the galaxy. Some of those contacts still exist, still owe my people favors. I can reach out to them, see what they know. Do it, Jiwan said. While Nari worked on finding the data center's location, the team had to deal with more immediate threats. Bounty hunters found their safe house 3 times in the first 2 weeks. Each time, they barely escaped. The third attack was the worst. A full mercenary company, 20 soldiers with military-grade weapons and armor. They stormed the station at dawn, cutting through the outer defenses with ease. Taeyang held them off while the others evacuated. He moved through the corridors like a ghost, disarming and disabling attackers without killing them. But there were so many, and they kept coming. One mercenary got a lucky shot, hitting Taeyang with a weapon designed to disrupt nervous systems. For the first time since his transformation, he fell, his body seizing up in agony. The mercenary stood over him, grinning. Got ya, hybrid. You are worth 20 million credits. Alive or dead, they did not specify. Before he could fire again, Kieran appeared from the shadows. The Velith moved with desperate speed, tackling the mercenary and tearing the weapon from his hands. You will not harm him, Kieran snarled, his fangs showing for the first time. The neural disruptor's effects faded, and Taeyang got to his feet. Together, he and Kieran fought their way to Yuna's ship. The others were already aboard, engines hot and ready. They lifted off just as the station's defenses finally activated, turning the mercenaries' own weapons against them. In the aftermath, as they fled through hyperspace, Kieran sat beside Taeyang. You saved us from that facility. Now I have repaid a small part of that debt. But I am curious about something. Why do you fight so hard? You are immortal now. You could hide, wait out this war, live for thousands of years in peace. Why risk everything? Taeyang thought about the question. Because immortality without purpose is just an eternity of emptiness. I did not ask for these powers, but I have them now. If I do not use them to help people, to protect those who cannot protect themselves, then what am I? Just a monster hiding in the shadows. Kieran smiled slightly. You are very different from most humans I have met. Most think only of themselves. Not all of us, Taeyang said. The best of us think of others first. That is what makes humanity worth saving. Nari finally returned with information. She had contacted old Velith intelligence networks and learned the location of the conspiracy's data center. It was hidden inside a luxury space station in orbit around Earth itself, disguised as a banking facility, bold, arrogant, and perfectly safe because no one would think to look there. Security will be impossible, Yuna said, studying the schematics Nari had provided. Military-grade shields, automated defenses, multiple security checkpoints, and it is right next to Earth's main defense fleet. If we are detected, we will have battleships on us in minutes. Then we will have to be very careful, Jiwon said. They spent weeks planning. Minji, who had worked in data systems before her capture, helped them understand the facility's network architecture. Doyen designed specialized breaching charges that would disable systems without causing alarms. Hana mapped guard patrol patterns from surveillance footage. But they all knew the truth. Even with perfect planning, this mission was nearly impossible. Too many things could go wrong. One mistake, one unexpected guard, one failed system, and they would all die or be captured. The night before the mission, Taeyang could not sleep. He stood on the observation deck, staring at the stars. Nari joined him silently. Are you afraid? She asked. Yes, Taeyang admitted. Not of dying. I think I have accepted that I probably cannot die anymore, at least not easily. But I am afraid of failing, of letting everyone down, of being captured and turned into a weapon. You will not fail, Nari said with certainty. I have seen many warriors in my long life. Most fight for glory, for wealth, for power. But you fight for something greater. That makes you dangerous in ways they cannot predict. There is something I need to know, Taeyang said. That prophecy you mentioned, about a hybrid bridging the gap between species. Did you choose me because of that prophecy? Or did you save me because you truly believed I was worth saving? Nari was quiet for a long moment. Both, she finally said. The prophecy spoke of one who would be tested, who would face impossible choices and remain true to their principles. When I saw you, dying but still fighting to save others, I knew you were that person. Not because of prophecy, but because of who you are. She placed a cool hand on his shoulder. Whatever happens tomorrow, know that you have already changed the galaxy. The Velith you saved will spread word of what you did. Other species will hear of the human who fought against his own kind to protect the innocent. That story will matter, regardless of whether we succeed or fail. I would rather succeed, Taeyang said with a slight smile. Then let us make sure that happens. The next day they began their infiltration. Yuna flew them to the station using forged credentials that Nari's contacts had provided. Minji had hacked into the facility's visitor logs and created false identities for all of them. On paper, they were investors coming to discuss opening new accounts. The first checkpoint went smoothly, so did the second. They made it to the middle levels of the station, where the real data center was hidden behind layers of security and misdirection. Doyen planted his charges on the access door while Hana watched for guards. Then everything went wrong. An alarm sounded, piercing and loud. Security doors slammed down throughout the station. Over the intercom, a familiar cold voice spoke. "Did you really think I would not anticipate this?" Dr. Hun said. "I have been tracking you since you escaped my facility. I knew you would come here eventually. And now you have walked right into my trap." Armed security forces appeared from every direction. Not the private mercenaries from before, but elite military soldiers wearing power armor and carrying weapons designed to kill enhanced targets. Weapons designed to kill Taeyang. "Run!" Ji-Wan shouted. "Get to the data center! I will hold them off!" "Father, no!" Minji cried, but Ji-Wan was already moving, laying down covering fire. Taeyang grabbed the access door and ripped it open with his bare hands. Inside was the data center, walls of servers containing the conspiracy's secrets. Minji rushed in and began downloading everything to portable drives. 30 seconds, she said, her fingers flying over the keyboard. Outside, Taeyang heard Ji-Won grunting in pain. He ran back out and saw the commander on the ground, his armor cracked, blood seeping from multiple wounds. The security forces were advancing, weapons raised. Something inside Taeyang snapped. Not his control, but his fear of revealing what he truly was. These people wanted to capture him, study him, use him as a weapon. Well, let them see what kind of weapon he could be. He moved faster than he ever had before, faster than even Nari had moved. The world became a blur around him. He disarmed the first soldier, used the man's own weapon to disable 3 more. He kicked another into the wall hard enough to dent the metal. He became a whirlwind of violence, precise and controlled, but absolutely overwhelming. The security forces fell back in terror. They had been briefed on the hybrid's abilities, but seeing it in person was something else entirely. This was not human. This was not even Velith. This was something new, something terrifying. "Download complete," Minji shouted. "I have everything." "Go!" Taeyang yelled. "Get to the ship!" They ran while Taeyang held the corridor alone. More security forces came, wave after wave. He fought them all, taking hits from their weapons, but healing almost as fast as they could damage him. His body was adapting, learning, becoming more efficient with every passing moment. Finally, he heard Yuna's voice in his ear. "Everyone is aboard. Taiyang, we are leaving now." He turned and ran, moving so fast the security forces could not track him. He reached the docking bay just as Yuna was starting to lift off. He jumped, clearing 20 meters in a single leap, and caught the boarding ramp as it closed. The ship lurched as they broke away from the station. Earth's defense fleet responded immediately, battleships moving to intercept. But Yuna was the best pilot in the Corps, and she proved it now, weaving through their fire and jumping to hyperspace before they could lock weapons. In the cargo hold, everyone collapsed in exhaustion. Jiwan's wounds were serious but not fatal. The Velith huddled together, frightened by the violence they had witnessed. Minji clutched the data drives like they were sacred relics. "We did it," Doyun said, laughing with relief and adrenaline. "We actually did it." "Now comes the hard part," Hana said, "getting people to believe what we found." Taiyang sat against the wall, his body slowly repairing the damage from dozens of weapons strikes. He felt tired, more tired than he had ever been. But they had the evidence. They had the proof. Now they just needed to survive long enough to reveal it to the galaxy. The data they had stolen from the conspiracy's center revealed everything. Financial records showing massive payments to high-ranking officials, communications between human conspirators and Velcrin commanders. Plans to surrender Earth and the core human worlds in exchange for control of the outer colonies. Even evidence that the Velcrin were only interested in ancient Velith technology hidden somewhere on Earth, technology that could grant them the same immortality. But having evidence and being able to use it were two different things. The conspirators controlled most major communication networks. Any attempt to broadcast the truth would be blocked or dismissed as fake propaganda from wanted fugitives. "We need someone people will believe," Minji said during their planning session. "Someone with credibility, with access to networks the conspirators cannot completely control." "What about the independent news services?" Doyan suggested. "They are not government-controlled." "They are also not trusted by most people," Hana countered. "Anything they broadcast would be seen as sensationalism." They debated for hours, but no good solution presented itself. Then Nari spoke up with an idea that was either brilliant or insane. "There is going to be a ceremony," she said, "in 3 days. The conspirators are gathering on Earth to sign a formal peace treaty with the Velcrin. They are calling it humanity's salvation, a necessary compromise to end the war. Every major leader, every important official, everyone involved in the conspiracy will be there, broadcast to billions of people across human space." "You want us to interrupt a peace treaty?" Jiwan said slowly. "I want us to expose it for the lie it is," Nari replied. "Live, in front of the entire galaxy. Show them the evidence. Make them see the truth before the conspirators can spin it." "That is suicide," Yuna said flatly. "Security will be massive. Every military and police force on Earth will be there. We would never make it out alive." "Then we make it count," Taeyang said quietly. Everyone turned to look at him. "We have been running, hiding, surviving. But eventually, we have to stand and fight. If we die doing this, at least we die knowing we tried to save humanity." Kiran and the other 2 Velith stepped forward. "We will help," Kiran said. "You saved us. We will stand with you." One by one, the others nodded. Ji-Won embraced his daughter, knowing he might be leading her into death. Hana checked her rifle one more time. Doyen made a joke about going out with a bang. Yuna simply said, "I will get us there. Getting us out is your problem." The peace ceremony was being held at the old United Nations building, a historical site that added gravitas to the proceedings. Millions of people lined the streets, some celebrating the end of the war, others protesting what they saw as surrender. The media covered every angle, cameras everywhere. Yuna brought their ship in low, using the chaos of the crowds to mask their approach. She landed on a nearby building's roof, and the team rappelled down to street level. They were dressed as protesters, blending in with the crowds. Getting inside the building was the hardest part. Security checkpoints, metal detectors, biometric scanners. But Taeyang's enhanced senses let him map out guard positions, and Minji's hacking skills created brief windows in the security systems. They moved through the building like ghosts, always one step ahead of detection. The ceremony hall was massive, filled with dignitaries and officials. At the center stage, human leaders stood alongside Velcran commanders. The peace treaty was displayed on massive screens, ready to be signed. Cameras broadcast everything to billions of viewers. Dr. Hyun was there too, standing with the other conspirators. When he saw Taeyang's team enter through a side door, his eyes widened in shock. He reached for a communicator, but Taeyang moved in a blur, crossing 50 meters in seconds and ripping the device from his hand. "Hello, Doctor," Taeyang said quietly, his enhanced strength keeping the scientist immobile. "Time to tell the truth." Security forces reacted immediately, weapons drawn, shouting for the intruders to stand down. But Minji was faster. She plugged a drive into the building's main computer system and began broadcasting their evidence on every screen. The ceremony hall erupted in chaos. On the screens, everyone could see the financial records, the communications with the Velcran, the plans to sacrifice colonies. They saw footage from Dr. Hyun's facility, showing the horrific experiments on captured aliens. They saw everything. "This is a lie!" one of the conspirators shouted. "These fugitives are terrorists trying to sabotage peace." "Then explain these financial records," Jiwon said, his voice amplified through the building's speakers. "Explain why you have been receiving payments from shell corporations linked to the Velcran. Explain why you were willing to sacrifice millions of human lives for your own power." The Velcran commanders were already moving toward the exits, realizing their conspiracy had been exposed. But Nari and the other Velith blocked their path, moving with inhuman speed. "You came to Earth seeking the ancient Velith technology," Nari said, her voice cold. "The immortality devices my ancestors hid here thousands of years ago. But you were never going to honor any treaty. You were going to take what you wanted and kill everyone anyway." One of the Velcran commanders laughed. "And what will you do about it, extinct species? There are only thousands of you left. We number in the billions." "But they have me," Taeyang said, stepping forward. The cameras focused on him, broadcasting his image across the galaxy. "I am human and Velith. I am what happens when two species choose cooperation over hatred, and I am done hiding." Dr. Hyun broke free and pulled out a weapon, firing at Taeyang at point-blank range. The energy bolt struck him in the chest, burning through his shirt and flesh. Taeyang stumbled back, and for a moment, everyone thought he would fall. But he did not. His wound was already healing, skin knitting back together before their eyes. He looked up at Dr. Hyun with glowing eyes, the Velith part of him fully visible now. "You wanted to create super soldiers," Taeyang said. "You wanted to weaponize immortality. But you never understood what it truly means. Immortality is not a weapon. It is a responsibility, a burden to protect those who have shorter lives, to fight for those who cannot fight themselves." He moved faster than the cameras could follow, disarming Dr. Hyun and pinning him to the ground. "I am not your weapon. I am not your experiment. I am a guardian, and I will spend eternity making sure people like you never harm the innocent again." The security forces finally reached them, but they hesitated. The entire galaxy had just watched Taeyang take a lethal shot and heal from it. They had seen the evidence of the conspiracy. They had heard the truth. Shooting him now would make them look like the conspirators' enforcers. One by one, the security forces lowered their weapons. Some even turned them on the conspirators instead. The people in the ceremony hall began shouting, demanding answers, demanding justice. The Velkrin commanders tried to fight their way out, but Nari and Kiran moved to stop them. A brief, brutal battle erupted. The Velith were outnumbered, but their speed and strength made up for it. And then something unexpected happened. Regular human soldiers, loyal troops who had been assigned to security, joined the fight against the Velkrin. They had seen the evidence. They knew they had been betrayed. And they were done following orders from traitors. The battle was short and decisive. The Velkrin commanders were captured. The human conspirators were arrested by their own security forces. Dr. Hyun screamed about his research, about the future he had been building, but no one listened anymore. In the aftermath, as medics treated the wounded and investigators secured the evidence, Taeyang stood with his team. They were all alive, bruised, exhausted, but alive. "What happens now?" Minji asked quietly. "Trials," Jiwon said. "Investigations. A lot of very angry people demanding answers. The conspiracy is broken, but cleaning up the mess will take years." "And us?" Hana asked. "We are still technically wanted fugitives." "I think those charges will be dropped," Yuna said, pointing at a screen. News broadcasts were already calling them heroes, the ones who exposed the greatest betrayal in human history. Kiran approached Taeyang. "My siblings and I have decided to remain on Earth. We will help rebuild, share our knowledge, work toward the cooperation you spoke of. But what about you? You are famous now. Everyone knows what you are." Taeyang looked out at the crowds, at the cameras, at the galaxy watching him. He had spent so long hiding, afraid of what people would think of him. But now the secret was out, and the sky had not fallen. People were not screaming in terror. Instead, he saw hope in their faces. Hope that if a human and Velith could work together, maybe there was a future worth fighting for. "I will keep fighting," Taeyang said simply. "The Velkrin invasion is not over just because we exposed the conspiracy. There are still colonies under attack, still people who need defending. I have eternity. I might as well use it for something good." Nari smiled. "The prophecy was right about you. You are the bridge between species, the one who will show others that cooperation is possible." Over the following weeks, things changed rapidly. The conspirators were tried and sentenced. The Velkrin were pushed back as humanity's forces, no longer sabotaged from within, began winning battles. New alliances formed as other alien species, seeing what humans and Velith could accomplish together, reached out with offers of cooperation. Jiwon was promoted to general and given command of a new special operations division. Minji joined military intelligence, using her experience to help root out remaining conspirators. Hana, Doyun, and Yuna stayed together as a team, now working officially for the military. The rescued Velith became ambassadors, helping to rebuild relations between their species and others. And Taeyang became something else entirely. Not a soldier, though he still fought. Not a symbol, though many saw him that way. He became a guardian, using his immortality to protect those who needed protection, to stand against threats that ordinary people could not face. 6 months after the ceremony, he stood on a memorial site where his old unit had fallen on Kepler 442b. Flowers and tributes covered the ground. Taeyang placed his hand on the memorial stone, thinking of his fallen comrades. "I am still fighting for you," he whispered, "for all of you. Your sacrifice was not meaningless." His communicator beeped. It was a distress signal from a frontier colony. A new threat had emerged from deep space, something the Velkrin had been fleeing from all along. Something worse. Taeyang smiled slightly. The war with the Velkrin might be ending, but for an eternal guardian, there would always be another battle, another cause worth fighting for, another chance to prove that humanity's greatest strength was not power or technology, but the willingness to sacrifice for others. He activated his communicator. "This is Taeyang. I am on my way." As he boarded Yuna's ship to race toward the new threat, he thought about what Nari had told him that first night. Immortality without purpose was just an eternity of emptiness. But immortality with purpose, with meaning, with people worth protecting, that was something worth living for. He had died once on a battlefield, giving everything to save innocent lives. And he had been reborn as something more, something that could keep fighting, keep protecting, keep hoping for thousands of years. Humanity did not survive because they were the strongest or the smartest. They survived because they never stopped fighting for each other, even when it cost them everything, even their humanity itself. And Taiyang would make sure they kept surviving for as long as eternity lasted.